Howdy, folks. I'm Mark, and today I am joined by Jordan Leithart. He's the lead designer and lead programmer and CEO of LuxCore Studios. Jordan, thank you for joining me again for this short talk about video games.
Thank you. I have a great resume builder.
Yes, absolutely. You are listening to Quick Play, so let's get right into it. So we are here today to talk about the use of generative AI in video games, which people are all sorts of ready to throw down on in every single direction. But Jordan, you have a fascinating development blog, which I will also link in the description as well, on what you think of AI and how maybe you use it. And it's very well thought out, very thoughtful, very nuanced, and I am kind of in a similar wavelength as you are, so I don't think we'll have much disagreement here. But also, before we dig into that, I have a maybe dumb question to ask on the consumer side. What's the difference between AI, like we're talking about, and like procedural generation? Procedural generation, if I said that right.
That's right. Procedural generation.
Yeah, because there's this whole subgenre of game, like you're making a roguelike, roguelite. I get it wrong every time.
That's right. Everyone else gets it wrong too. And
it's like I know the right one. I intentionally mess it up.
Actually, technically, right now it's more of roguelike than roguelite. So
okay, there you go. But like, yeah, we have this whole subgenre where it's like, in a sense, AI is being used to make randomized level design. Why is that not controversial? And,
okay,
educate
well,
me.
I mean, I thought this was quick play. Not back. What is it? Backlog breakdown.
The backlog breakdown.
This would be a good long conversation on that one.
Oh, I'm sure they would love that.
So procedural generation is a algorithm that relies on randomization, but with a guided randomization.
Okay.
So for my game, it uses a random seed that you can choose, and that will like hold all the random events will happen the exact same way with each seed. So if you chose 1337 and I chose 1337, the exact same enemies will spawn, the exact same items will be chosen, and the exact same layout in the dungeon would happen. Okay. And so procedural generation is more of randomness guided to a purpose. So so that's probably a layman's way of thinking of it.
Yeah, that helps.
Procedural animation is like, you want to go from here to here. How do we like procedurally, like algorithmically, like make it so that looks natural, kind of thing. Gotcha. And that way you don't have to always keyframe every single frame. Like you can then say, okay, I want to go from here to here, and then get some sort of algorithm that will determine what happens at each step.
Interesting.
Okay. So as an example, for my game, you have a room that has an east door. Yeah. I guess on the screen it looks like a west door, but east door from my perspective. Right. East door, it goes into, and then I randomly choose the next door. Now, I want to guide the algorithm that's randomly choosing it to not only have a room that has one door to the west. So that way that would be only a 2-room dungeon. So I want to like force that to have more doors on the next one so that there's more rooms being spawned in. Okay. And every time I spawn in a room, I say, okay, here's a door. Now let's make sure that we add something to there and something there, and then it just grows from there.
Gotcha.
What people are thinking of is like LLMs, the big AI is AI that's been trained on data, billions and billions of gigs of data. Like trained on it. Yeah. So it looks like it's coming up with some sort of creative solution to what you are saying. Gotcha. It uses probably a bunch of different styles of doing it, but an easy way to think of it is if you ever look up like artificial neural networks, which is kind of how our brain works. Yeah. Where it takes inputs, sends it through nodes, is what they're called. Each node has different weights. Okay. That goes to other nodes. And so you're basically passing through a bunch of filters over and over again, with weights being the computer science term for how important is this node. Okay. And as you pass them through, each one gets tweaked, each one gets tweaked until output, you get one output. Okay. And the training data happens over and over and over again, where somebody goes in and says, hey, we put in this input based off these weights. This was the output you gave. Okay. this is wrong.
Sure.
Okay. So you're basically telling the AI this is wrong. And then the AI goes in and tweaks the weights on each of those nodes to be like, okay, how about this one? How about this one? How about this one? If you've ever watched Silicon Valley, which fantastic show, love Mike Judge, but there's a arc in there where one of the characters creates a food. He's able to determine what kind of food it is based off of a picture, right?
Right. Okay.
And it's hot dog, right? Yeah. But you can only say hot dog or not hot dog.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
So then he ends up selling it for like $10 million to Periscope because they want the ability to tell you what a phallic hot dog and what is not a hot dog. But what it requires,
the arc's coming back to me now. Yeah.
Yeah. So AI is determining that this algorithm that's been trained on it, but it also requires that someone look at it, every single picture that's reported now, and says, is this a hot dog or is this not a hot dog? And it's like basically verifying to the AI whether or not it's doing a good job.
Gotcha. Okay.
And over time, and obviously with the LLMs, you have so much data being put in there and so much output being put out there. And it's like, it's just doing that over and over and over again.
Gotcha. Okay.
So procedural, trying to get to one specific place, LLM, especially how we think of AGI, very broad, input everything, and who knows what it outputs, in my opinion.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. That was very helpful to kind of even just give a definition as well. That helped me a lot to understand more of like kind of what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
So in general, like what's your opinion? Like is this good? Is this bad? Is this somewhere in between?
Definitely a tool. I think that is useful. You mentioned my video blog. That was actually for a little while was my most popular video on my YouTube channel.
Nice. Okay.
With also the most dislikes I got.
Oh no.
People did not like my take on that.
From which side though? You're kind of
both sides, I think.
Gotcha. Yeah. Right.
And I definitely clickbaited. I was like, AI is not real. AI art is not real art.
Sure.
And I still firmly believe that.
Yeah.
But so the use of it in video games is a fascinating question. And full disclosure, I have definitely used AI in my game.
How dare you?
I do not have the ability to draw. And so I have, to make things look a little bit more polished, I have added like my item icons are all AI.
Gotcha. Sure.
I find icons are easier than 3D models or top down. Like they don't get the perspective right and things are a little weird.
Sure. That makes sense.
So I think for like AI is extremely useful in its current state, especially like Midjourney, and Grok does an okay job. I don't know about DALL-E anymore. I haven't tried it in a while.
Gotcha.
Great job for just creating some sort of placeholder asset to make the game feel a little better before like you actually get an artist in.
Sure.
I would never want to sell a game that had AI art in it. I would 100% always want to have some artist come in and make the icons or the props or whatever I'm using AI for and fix that. And then I'll like go ahead. But for playtesting, when it's like the visual aspect is not as important as understand like getting the mechanics down, it doesn't bother me at all, and I use it all the time.
Sure.
You get into a weirder spot when you go into code.
Okay.
Because AI, Claude, Copilot is being used a lot in code.
Interesting. Okay.
And now people, like most people, don't care because you don't see it.
Sure.
And then the question comes for a lot of like programmers are like, well, it's kind of stealing, just like AI stealing art from the artist. Is an AI stealing code from the coder? Except most of them are just like, this gets done faster than me, so who cares?
Gotcha.
The problem runs into is that, yes, it can write it faster. You have no idea what's going on. If something goes wrong, who's going to fix it?
Gotcha. Then you have to like just parse through it all to find the mistake.
Right.
And,
And for all the coders out there, trying to go through someone else's code to figure out a bug versus trying to go through your own code to figure out a bug is probably 10 or 15 times harder to go through someone else's code.
Interesting. Okay.
Now you can then go and try and parse that into, an AI and say, hey, what's wrong with this code? And it may or may not tell you.
Sure. Okay.
I ran into an issue where I was using one to help me write a system, bug reporting system, and I was going through it, and it would tell me to do one thing, and so I'd be like, okay, like I don't quite understand like the web dev side as much as I used to back in the day, so I'm going to rely on this for the the JSON parsing and stuff like that.
Sure.
And I do that, and it fails. And so I'm like, hey, so I send it like, AI, I'm getting this error. It's like, oh, and just completely rewrites the function for me. It's like, we have to do it this way. And I was like, okay. So I did it. And I was like, I'm getting this error now. And it's like, oh, and this rewrites what it was the first time. Basically swapping back and forth and back and forth.
Okay.
And each time would be like, I'm sorry, I didn't realize. Oh, yes, you were absolutely right. This was wrong. I'll redo it kind of thing. Like each time. And finally I was like, okay, something's going on here. It's not sending it correctly.
Yeah.
Like it was like I was trying to upload a PNG and it was trying to send it in text format.
Okay.
That was like, but the problem was that the HTTP request call, basically I was trying to upload like the function call to send it to the server.
Okay.
Was expecting text.
Okay.
And the AI was only using that function call. I went to the documentation for my engine and was like, oh, here's another request that's just like it's a request _raw. And that was like doing it the way the AI was expecting it this whole time. And it's like, you end up it took me about 2 hours to be like, having to go through and be like, okay, what is this trying to do?
Yeah.
Oh, I understand now what it's trying to do. And like, yeah, it got rid of a lot of like the mundane, like JSON stuff that I would have had to do, but I still had to be able to like nail down what was going on with it. So there's weirdness with where were we? Oh yes.
Yeah.
However, and this is fascinating.
Okay. I'm ready.
So where a lot of people have issues, I'm to lean in for this one.
Real excited. Gotta make the point.
Yeah. A lot of people have issues with AI because, or like Midjourney and stuff, is because it's where it's pulling from. DeviantArt was basically selling training data to AI. ArtStation was selling data to AI. Like basically everywhere you uploaded it and then gave out your portfolio link, AI was being trained on for the last 5 years.
Wow. Okay. And this is like not even necessarily the artists. Like
they had no idea.
Yeah.
It was in the terms of service.
Okay.
It's problematic. Okay.
Okay.
And it's like and so this is a huge deal. Now this is the whole Gmail thing that happens. Like you give something away for free, you're the product.
Sure.
Okay. But a lot of, we'll say modern internet people don't understand that. They don't understand. It's like, oh, I'm getting this for free. They don't understand. My data is being collected and sold.
Yeah. Sure.
Facebook makes billions of dollars by basically having a tracker on every single website. So it knows exactly where you're going. So it can then sell advertising to people.
Man. Yeah.
Okay. Now, problems with that. Big problems with AI taking copyrighted images, people who created these images, and then you ask it for it, and then using that to come up with something new.
Yeah.
But something trained on somebody else's, copyrighted work.
Right.
I have a big moral problem with that.
Yeah.
And so on. However,
like in the video you mentioned of like if you try to get video game plumber, like you're going to get a picture of Mario.
Exactly.
Like that's just what's going to happen because that's what it knows. Yeah. Anyway.
Okay. Meta guy. This is fascinating. Meta guy.
Okay.
He has been a VFX artist in Hollywood since the mid 90s. Okay.
Okay.
Visual effects. 30 years of experience, been doing it by hand, had a company of 200 people or something like that. Saw the trend of AI coming in here.
Okay.
And in 2018, he started training an LLM on his own assets.
Like just his own?
Just his own.
Okay.
He has 30 years of assets.
Yeah.
Okay. So now he is able to generate assets that Hollywood people are looking for much faster and much higher quality without the bugs that were going to happen by training up younger artists or something like that, and was able to fire 90% of his company. So he has like 5 people working for him now and makes twice as much money.
Wow.
Now, fascinating idea of places like Blizzard, Nintendo, who have decades of video game assets, decades of code that they own. Like I don't get to, like I didn't have code in at Carbine, I have code at Frostkeep, I have code in Exile. That's not my code.
Yeah.
That's theirs. They can do with it what they want. So they can then go and train an AI on that. And then, in an Exile, I did UI code. And then they can use that code, train an LLM on it. And then when they start at their next project, be like, give me a functional inventory system.
Yeah.
And they have, 6 games that they can train the AI on. AI will be like,
man,
here you go.
Yeah.
Now it'll need some tweaking, but you just got rid of 6 months of work.
Yeah.
And I have no moral problem with that.
Yeah. That's also like the stuff that like people notice inventory systems and stuff, but like people don't care about inventory systems as much as they care about like what things look like.
True.
Like, does that feel like there's,
the thing is, like, even with that, like you have, character artists for Blizzard who've been creating the Overwatch characters. You can train an AI on that, and you're like, hey, give me or probably World of Warcraft is better because they have more unique models. But you're like, give me a new style. Like, here's a thing. It's like in this style of World of Warcraft that you've been training on for the last 3 years with all this data. Give me a brand new, bipedal race of, I don't know, turtles. And like, it would give you probably fully rigged, and you'd need to tweak it.
Come up with the Ninja Turtles accidentally sometimes.
Maybe. But I think that people would not be able to notice.
Mm-hmm.
And games would come out faster.
Sure.
You potentially be and then the problem is like, well, would that cause laziness in game design? I don't know. There's a whole lot of other questions that happen.
Yeah.
But there is a very interesting thing of if your studio owns all of the assets, and you start an LLM on that. I have trouble saying that that's wrong. That's morally wrong. I have trouble saying that that's wrong from a legal perspective.
Yeah, I gotcha. And like even just for what you get as an output, like hopefully it's more high quality stuff. Like not everything on DeviantArt is worth like putting into the system.
Hopefully it skipped the not safe for work part.
Yes, exactly. There's many layers to things that should not go into these systems. Even like in just the artist side, have you watched any of Mythic Quest, the Apple TV show?
I watched like 2 episodes. I need to go and watch it again. I really love Danny Pudi.
Yes.
I'm a big fan of him. There's
I've watched like most of it, but there's this running joke of like, oh yeah, how the artist like whipped this up yesterday, and like the artist is like, I missed my kid's birthday to like make this for you. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah. Like, so it just it makes sense that there's like this big desire for efficiency where that can be.
Yeah, you'll have to have me back on for a because that can spawn into a conversation about like whether or not it's worth it. Like the idea of these crunch times, because we don't have that as much anymore in the industry. And
gotcha.
I definitely go against the grain on that, but that's a much longer discussion.
Oh man, crunch culture. We're not ready for that one yet. Yeah. So how about like, if there is kind of this efficiency and like if there are parameters you can put on it that make it like maybe work better, what keeps you, or I'm presuming here, like, are you still trying to make Oracle of Melee's not use AI? Like, what's keeping you from that, I guess?
Good question. I think this goes into the video I put a little bit. AI, in my opinion, has no soul.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Like you can look at and I went into this in the video, and I think there's a fascinating part of in Genesis where like, and everyone knows, like in Genesis, God creates something and He creates it. Yeah. And first He speaks it, then He creates it, and then it says He's good. It says it's good. I think there's 3 things. I can't remember what the 3 things are now off the top of my head.
I did just watch it. I think you mentioned that of like God creates.
Oh, He names.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
Okay. So first he creates it, and it's like he calls it the day, and the night, or the dark night.
Yeah.
Okay. And so he creates it, then names it, and lastly appreciates it. And it's like without that appreciation of what has been created, I don't think that something can be considered, like, should be considered art at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can't appreciate what you created, then I wouldn't call it art.
Sure.
It's like, so have you ever tried to have an AI? So then it's like, hey, is this good? Like, like, hey, is this code good? And if I ask Claude that or ChatGPT or something, they'll be like, oh no, I'm sorry, I could do it better or something like that.
Oh, it's interesting.
It's like, and so you get in this spot of like, can an AI create something that it itself thinks is the best thing that it could create?
Oh, interesting.
Or if you ask it to make it better,
can it be proud of itself for making something? Yeah.
Or is like happy with what it did?
Yeah.
And it's like, as a tool, and people use this a lot, and people did on my video. It's like people who bash AI art would bash digital photography back in the day.
Gotcha. Sure.
And that actually leads into a weird question of, about, I think it was last year or about maybe 8 months ago, the Aurora Borealis actually hit Chattanooga.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you went outside and you looked, it was very difficult to see. You'd see kind of a red glow.
Yeah.
But if you took your iPhone out and took a picture of it, suddenly it looked beautiful.
Yeah.
And looked like the Aurora Borealis from, Iceland.
Right.
And you're like, what's going on here? It's not like it's adding stuff to this image that I don't see.
Yeah.
And people would sit there and like, there was like one person standing right here, one person standing next to him, one person has an iPhone taking a picture, and one person, well, it's not exactly, but like 2 houses down.
Yeah.
And someone being like, whoa, where were you when you saw this? All I saw was this. They're like, I was right here. It's like, I live right there. It did not look like that.
Right.
So there is weirdness with digital photography and what's actually being what's actually on the thing with like pixels and how stuff works with that. And I know Apple and Google use AI to upscale and stuff like that. So there's also weirdness with that too. And anyway. Yeah. I don't want to really go into that too much because I don't know that much about digital photography and the software behind it. But it does bring up an interesting question of like, yes, good tool, which is more impressive for someone using old school photography to make an amazing picture, or someone using, the new like iPhone taking an amazing picture. Yeah. Like both of them can have an output that looks very similar. Right. And it gets into a very weird conversation, and I don't know exactly how to answer that one. Yeah.
Like then it's like, at what point are you comparing apples and oranges? And like, even though it's all photography, like it's all art, like, then it just becomes really complex.
Yeah. So I think there is a sense of like someone can make something that looks beautiful, but they're the ones who have to say that looks good, and then stop the AI from going further. Yeah. Like it's a tool. Yeah. But it can't make something by itself.
Yeah. I think there's also an element where it's like we as like consumers and players, particularly video games, of like kind of have to train ourselves to enjoy what is good and like what's kind of called good. Because like cheap slop for a quick buck has been around for a long time. Like you have country music radio. Like that's like,
don't you besmirch my Black Brown band.
Oh, they're fine. They're good. The Florida Georgia line is kind of the what's in my crosshairs. Yeah. Like crap exists for a very long time, and it's like, and even if like it takes kind of developing that taste, I think, for what it feels handcrafted and human. Because plenty of people are falling for AI stuff, like thinking like just AI art is beautiful.
Did you see the Trump and Kamala wedding and pregnancy video?
Oh, no.
Oh, man.
That's
I don't think anyone fell for it, but it was very funny.
Sure, yes. I mean, also that there's a tool where there's just like you can make very funny, crazy stuff, but that's also obviously like not real, which is a key factor. Yeah, I think it's going to take like enjoying what's handcrafted and kind of like in developing that taste.
Yes, and then putting your money where in that spot. So, like so I gave a talk at my church a couple of years ago about video games, and basically it was kind of warning people about the predatory design of a lot of live service games that we have nowadays.
Yeah.
And I've had like people come up and be like, "Yeah, my son is like it's almost like he's addicted to Fortnite. He just wants to go and buy a skin." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's what I was warning you about.
That's what it's there for. That's trying."
But I was like, and Fortnite, like the gameplay of Fortnite, I don't think is wrong. It's just like the design, the monetary predatory design around it.
Yeah.
But the end result, I was like, look, as much as you want them to be, because Christians in general want to hate video games,
right?
For some reason, and as much as you want it to be, games are not bad,
right?
It's like they are a great medium for telling stories, for like hanging out with friends, for doing all these things. It's up to you as a parent and or you as the player to be like, this is a God glorifying game, and this is not. And you have to help teach your kids how to approach all medium. It's not just games, it's books, it's TV, it's music. It's like, and then put your money, your ears, your eyes, your thumbs, and like, well, now we got a little bit weird, but
it makes sense. It works.
It was. I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
but put it where there's where it will make like continue to support games, do that type of thing.
Yeah. That's good. That'll preach. Thanks for coming on this episode of the Backlog Breakdown.
That's right.
So, well, did you get everything off your chest, or do you have anything more on you wanted to?
I'm sure we could talk a lot more. The whole concept of AI as a discussion point goes far beyond video games.
Yeah.
I don't think that AI will help current games get better. I think that it'll have to be I'm not sure if it's a top-down issue from like management down, or if it's a bottom-up issue where devs just don't care as much as they used to. I don't know exactly, because I've met a lot of devs in the lower ranks who care. I met a lot of devs in the higher ranks who are trying their best. Yeah. And I don't know.
Man. Well, that's a big topic for maybe further down the road. Let's fix the entire game industry next time.
Yeah.
In
20 minutes.
Easy. Yeah, done. Well, one final question too. Like
here's a preview.
Yes.
Bring back crunch.
Oh my goodness.
That fixes the entire industry.
There we go. That'll be the good clickbait a title episode for that one. We'll get there. Well, before we go though, I want to know, could an all AI game be fun?
That's a broad question.
Sure.
Okay. Because we have to ask what all AI is. Okay.
Sure.
Who is it humans play testing it at the end?
Ooh.
Like, what is before it? Like when you say it's like all AI, is it like from nothing? A human just says, make me a platformer, I don't know, with basically gives a mini game design document and hands it to AI. And then you have like a game design document. Should the AI have created the game design document?
Like thinking about the potential feature where it's like we can all make our own games by like putting in a prompt, kind of what you're saying, and then we can press enter and it publishes to Steam. Like, what do you think? Like, would that be fun?
No.
Okay. Why?
Because 90% of games aren't fun.
Fair enough. There you go.
Like, it's not, and I don't think like it's not just.
Yeah.
It's just it's the fun is I don't think that an AI as it's iterating over will be able to determine whether it's fun or not. Yeah. Now, if you like it creates a game and you play it and you say, hey, this part isn't fun, redo this part, and then iterate, I think that could potentially like you could eventually get to a game that's like that. But just typing out a prompt, hitting publish to Steam, you might get one in a million.
Gotcha. Man. Yeah. Well, that's also not that surprising of an answer given what we've talked about so far. But nice to wrap a bow on it. Well, before we go, though, I got to know one name, one game. What are you playing?
Actually, funny enough, I'm playing Corekeeper with my friends this month. It is a top-down survival crafting 2D game, kind of like Terraria and Factorio mixed together.
Okay. I've seen that name. I can't. Yeah.
It just came out on Steam, and it has like 50,000 active players. Like the game is doing phenomenally well, and it's well deserved. It's really well done.
Oh, sweet. I'll check it out. Well, I've been wrapping up my replay of Steamworld Dig. Well, Jordan, thank you again for joining me. Where else are you out on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter or X or whatever at RealJarnod. Or more importantly, if you can go to Steam and find Oracle of Melees, MELES, and wishlist the game, that will help me tremendously. I need to get to 7,000.
There you go. We'll do it. You'll get all of the might of my subscriber base, which is mighty, I guess. Well, thank you all for listening in. You can follow us on the major podcasting services. You can find us on the proper socials at QuickPlayPod and let us know, is there a place for AI in game development? What's your take? We'll love to see what you think. That's all the time we have for today. Thanks. Bye.